This is the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, session number 357. Make 2022 your best year ever.
Welcome to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett, your professional resource for hypnosis training and outstanding business success. Here's your host, Jason Linett.
Hey, how about that title? Make 2022 your best year ever. And just for reference, this episode is launching on Thursday, December 30th, 2021, about 2 days before we all jump into 2022. And stick with me through this episode, by the way, because we're going to be chatting about some specific strategies and principles you can use to continue to grow your business. Now, I'll get into some specific questions and some specific concepts here, but I'd always direct the mindset around sales to be that of service. At the end of the day, you've heard me say this before, we help people. And the reality is, as we continue to grow our business, what that really relates to is, yes, not only more income and a bigger business and a more comfortable lifestyle, but really, if we direct that thought process to be around creating impact, creating a real significant shift in people's lives, that's where so many of these systems really begin to feed onto each other. And I'll call it out. That is, in my opinion, the number one recipe to prevent burnout. If you catch yourself kind of getting tired of saying the same things over and over and over, what I found that really means is that you're so focused on your side of the equation. Think about the actor who's on stage, perhaps, doing the same production for many weeks in a row, many months in a row, sometimes even many years in a row. And having been originally in that world, the dialogue becomes that there's a bit of safety in the fact that they've now got the words down. The same as within your hypnosis business. The more you're at this, the more you begin to realize, here's the way you explain how you could help with that issue. Here's the reason why someone ought to sign up for this program of yours, or even for people who are instructors, why someone ought to sign up for that training. The reality of this is it's not the conversation just internally in terms of what you're saying and what you're hearing. It's how these really begin these systems as to how, again, we're creating impact in someone's life. So I had a friend who one time was in the same role in the same Broadway production for going on about, I believe, 4 years the last time I talked to him. And whatever guess you're making as to which Broadway show has been running for more than 15 years, yeah, he's in that one. You guessed right. And I had to ask the question, I'm like, how do you do this and keep it fresh? And he goes, because it's never about me. It's never about the other actors who are on the stage. It's always about the audience, because every night there's someone who might be seeing this show for the first time, and there's even possibly someone in the audience who might be seeing not only their first Broadway production, but even their first piece of live theater. And he goes, and it always goes back to his first time being in that same role. So I share with that insight with you as we kick this off here, because this really is the dialogue that I've found to be the most sustainable to growing a business year after year. So I'm going to be going through some questions here. I'm going to be going through some concepts, and I'll give you a slightly different opportunity at the end of this episode here, which, yes, this is something that I help people to do. And by all means, check out hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. It's a whole lot easier to grow what you're doing when you have a proven roadmap to get there. That being said, check out worksmarthypnosis.com/scale. SCALE. And I'll be slightly cryptic here and not tell you exactly what that is, because I want you to go there yourself and see exactly what that is, review the information on that site. You'll know right away if you're in a position that that's something that's going to help you. And otherwise, take a look at hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. That might be the fit, or hey, maybe even some combo of the two. So check that out, worksmarthypnosis.com/scale. And with that, let's jump directly into this week's episode, the last of the year 2021. Here we go, session number 357, Make 2022 your best year ever. Now, some of you may have heard this story before, and after seeing clients for more than a dozen years, I'm allowed to pick favorites, and it was this like he was 12 or 13 years old, if I remember the time frame right. And the short version of the story comes around to one moment where this kid admitted that he wasn't doing great in school because he just wasn't applying himself. And just to build the stereotype here, the whole family was of a very obvious Irish descent, pale skin, freckles, red hair. And the mother turned an amazing shade of beet red in my office when this kid, not even yet a teenager, openly says to me, the problem isn't whether I'm smart or not, it's just that I've been half-assing school. If I just kind of whole-assed everything, I'd be a whole lot more effective and I'd get better grades. And ever since that day, this is now 10 years ago, I have stolen that phrase. Let me put it in a little bit more polite context. And maybe you've heard this phrase before, maybe you haven't. It's what we like to call the BHAG. B-H-A-G. Which what that stands for are big, hairy, audacious goals. Because let's call something out. This is my favorite part, and this is a bit of an odd thing about being the entrepreneur. When you really step into your full potential, when you really step into the capabilities of what you can do as, yes, a business owner, you don't quite fit in with some of the conversations that may have been around friends and even family members. And I'll tell you the specific example that always comes to mind. And I think of this every year around New Year's. I can remember a time that I was just killing myself in a full-time job, working really hard. And at the end of the year, I was rewarded with like a 4% raise. Woohoo! And if I did the math as to what that was versus what I now know how to do, that would have been just booking one more client. That could have been just signing one more person up for one of the training programs. And if now I'm in control of my own lifestyle, shouldn't I be setting my goals a bit higher than just year after year, another 4%? And sometimes that was either above or below or right at kind of the inflation level. So this is why I introduced this idea of the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. Because whatever your plans are for the coming year, and if you haven't created them yet, just take a bit of time, block some time on the calendar, and put all the devices to airplane mode, shut off distractions, and spend some time actually looking at where you are right now. And genuinely, I want you to set those goals as respectfully high as you possibly can. Not necessarily ridiculously high, because if you're there going, I'm going to earn $10 million next year, and I'll be very careful with the term only, and if you only bring in $200K next year, you're doing all right. But I think maybe that 10 million was clearly a bit silly in terms of your capabilities. Not to say you can't do it. Please get offended at what I just said and go, damn it, Jason, I'm going to make 10 million. Now that we've got that out of the way, but set it to be substantially high and spend some time and actually go back to the episode I did a little while ago about the easy pathway to six figures. We'll make it easy for you. This is episode number 357. Go to worksmarthypnosis.com/357. You'll see in the show notes the link to that specific episode, because that will introduce to you some of the ideas of how we can break things down by numbers, by hours, by signups, and so forth. But set those goals big. That's why, again, it's the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goals. And as you review that, again, put it through the filter of impact. Put it through the filter of truly creating a difference in people's lives. And here's where some of these questions are going to start to come to play. Ask yourself what segments of your business may need to be adjusted in order to make that happen. Because I'll tell you a quick personal story around this. I got my start in hypnosis by doing a bit of a no-risk fundraiser model for high schools as a stage hypnotist. And by dollar cost averaging, I was earning a good living. But I say dollar cost averaging because sometimes the school would just knock it out of the park and sell a bunch of tickets, and we'd both have a great night. Other times, I'd drive 8 hours, and they hadn't yet put up the posters. And we had a good event with a small audience. They were all smiling very loudly, and no one really earned any money on that event. Clearly, to be doing what I'm doing right now, I can't still be doing that business model of the 12 to 16 hour road trip and hoping that the high schoolers were actually going to sell the tickets. That no longer fit. So ask yourself what segments of your business may have to be adjusted. And as an example now, I'm still actively seeing clients. I'm still working with people for one-to-one change. However, what we did was we pulled that out of a local business entity by way of moving out of the state of Virginia and pulled that into the umbrella of a newer business brand. So I'm still doing some of the same work, yet I had to kind of modify the roadmap of how those clients got to me. So it's now a different sales story. It's a different style of sales communication. I'm not the local practitioner down the road. I'm in the concierge level service that's now serving clients all around the world. So take a moment and kind of jot down, the shape of your business as it is right now, and recognize that some parts are going to have to change. Some parts are going to have to be adjusted. And we're not just here to talk about business. No, we're also here to talk about your personal life. Ask yourself, what segments of your personal life may need to change? And again, let me get a little bit personal here right now. The whole word of the year thing that's become popular, well, I've gone ahead and I've put the word in place dating back to the end of September this year. The word is driven, because I can see what I'm capable of right now. I can also acknowledge the things that I'm, back to the favorite client, appropriately half-assing and doing well with small effort in one segment, yet going, you know what, if I really leaned in, to use the 12-year-old's phrasing, really whole-ass that, instead what would happen is that would substantially grow. And I kind of looked at that myself, and I kind of looked at how some of you know my history with substantial weight loss and getting into strength training, and I came back to the phrase, the way you are one place is the way you are everywhere else. So it's where in recent weeks, kind of revisiting some of the training that I do in terms of fitness and going back to a specific commitment of here's the plan for the next 6 months. Here's how I'm making some modifications just to really not only optimize my business, but also optimize myself. And at the same time, what segments of your personal life, sort of shifting around my hours so people don't have the option to get access to me until a specific time of the day. I've always been open in terms of morning hours, and I do a great job of shutting off, around like 5:30 or so. Kids are home from school, and then it's computers are away and it's family time. But kind of shortening that time frame to give myself the personal challenge, can I accomplish everything I'm looking to build in a smaller window of time, because now it drives me to be more focused. And starting the day with a bit more focus by, again, having a regimen in there once again. So really, at the end of the day, the question becomes, who will you become as you achieve these goals? I forget the source of this quote, and admittedly, I think I've heard this a lot of different places. I can think of 2 different U.S. presidents from both sides, one Republican, one Democrat, that over the course of their lifespan, the question was asked, how did the presidency change you? And I believe both basically had the answer of, it doesn't necessarily change who you are, but it amplifies who you are. I've heard that same sentiment shared by people whose businesses wildly took off, that it doesn't necessarily change who you are, it amplifies who you are. But I refuse to admit that. I refuse to accept that, because you know what? We are practitioners and masters of personal change now, aren't we? So notice I asked, who will you become, as opposed to who are you going to become? What aspects of your identity will now sort of level up? What parts of your personality need to be adjusted? What parts of that can become this identity transformation? And inside of that too, what are some beliefs that no longer serve you? What are some beliefs that need to be installed? For example, and sometimes it comes around to some very simple concepts. Growth of your business really often comes around to something that we've nicknamed superhero syndrome. The idea that you have to be the one to do it all yourself. And as I've been willing over the years to trust that someone else, listen to this, someone else can either do it better than I can, or if someone else can satisfy this administrative task, at best, 80% as well as I can, that's actually a worthwhile investment of my time, energy, and money, because it frees me up to do the stuff that I excel at and the stuff that creates a much higher impact from my side. So what new belief systems will you find yourself adopting as you step into this best year ever? And along the way, too, what skills might need to be developed? Because chances are, maybe there's something in terms of technique. If you're not yet getting the results that you want, hey, right around the corner, we've got the next WorkSmartHypnosisLive.com event happening very soon. I am recording this in November, by the way, and this episode is launching in December. So no promises that there's still space in that specific event. If it's sold out, we'll have another one announced. Not to worry, we got you covered. But if you're not yet getting the results that you want with your clients, well, that tells you part of the skill set needs to be better knowledge and better education. And likewise, too, if you're not yet comfortable in terms of putting your message out there, you might need some assistance on that. And I'll tell you the one question that I consistently see changes people's lives in terms of their business. Rather than asking, what do I need to do? Rather than asking, what should I be doing? It's asking the question, who do I need to interact with to make this happen? Do you see that's a different question? By changing the question from what and instead to who, now what this begins to reveal is that maybe you've been playing in the same website for 6 months and it still looks like something, I can't say a kid could do it because I bet a kid would be a better web designer than I am. But it might be that situation where you need another set of eyes, another set of hands, because they can do it better. So whether it's designers, whether it's programmers, it might even be hiring on a virtual assistant to kind of manage some of the day-to-day tasks and take some things that are sort of lower level tasks that don't create as much impact, handing that off to someone else. The question of who rather than what also introduces the idea that there may be a community that you need to surround yourself with, or even a mentor that you need to surround yourself with. And yes, I say that as that's something that I do, though I will be very open and tell you, in terms of building out everything that I've done, the more time that I spend investing in myself and finding those people who can help me challenge myself and raise to that next level, and without specific numbers for the sake of this statement, it's where I can look at what I've created in my life and I can look around and be very proud of it. And I absolutely am, because I've worked hard and I've worked smart. We should do something with that. I've worked smart to make that happen. But can I tell you my favorite thing these days? Hanging out in a room where I'm the lowest performer. Do you hear the smile on my face? Hanging out in that room where here are the people who are consistently creating massive impact in the world at the levels of 7, 8, and 9 figures a year. Some of them hitting those numbers every month. And to be the small fish in that world and be inspired. So if you find yourself consistently holding court and guiding those around you, take that as a bit of a nod to kind of level up your audience, level up the conversations that you're having, and by doing so, it challenges you to build to the next level. It inspires you to create your best year ever. Hey, Jason Linett here once again, and thank you so much for interacting with this program. This has been a great year of changing so many things in the shape of my business, impacting so many people's lives in terms of client work or training events or online programs. And if I can be of service to you in any way, let me know. Check out hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. This is one of the best places to get started to really refine the strategies that you're using in terms of getting found and having those clients see the full value of what you do. And again, let me be slightly cryptic with a personal invite. Take a look over at worksmarthypnosis.com/scale, SCALE. Go visit that as soon as you can. Look over exactly what that is. And I look forward to talking with you very soon. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast at WorkSmartHypnosis.com.
Hey there, it's Jason, and I want you to be one of the first to find out as we upload amazing new content. So do this right now. Click the subscribe button right here on this video. That's going to link you to our YouTube channel here, and you will be the first to find out as new resources and downloads are made available. Do it now.